Welcome to The Explainer. Grab a drink and get comfortable, because today we are looking back at a night that literally rewrote tech history. June 14, 2026. It was a Sunday night when the tech industry didn't just take a minor step forward, it reached a massive new stage of maturity across multiple, completely different fronts.
Okay, let's dive right into this. On our agenda today, we're tracking three massive frontiers that shifted right before our eyes: the AI legal frontier, the mobile tech revolution, markets and nostalgia, and finally, what happens next.
First up, frontier number one, the AI legal frontier. Creators fight back and governments step in.
For years, AI has kind of felt like the Wild West, right? But on this specific night, the boundaries were finally drawn. It started with Google making a totally unprecedented historic move against a cyber network known as Outsider Enterprise. Just look at this massive number. 2.5 million. That is the sheer staggering volume of phishing messages these hackers blasted out in a mere 2 weeks. By impersonating trusted brands, they caused over $20 million in financial damage, primarily just gutting the digital wallets of crypto investors.
But how did they actually execute this so incredibly fast? Well, they weaponized Google's own AI. Here's how the attack flowed. First, they used Gemini AI to generate highly convincing, multilingual text. Next, they pumped out fake HTML and CSS pages that perfectly mimicked actual banks. Then they used SMS gateways for mass distribution, and finally, they harvested all that stolen crypto and credit card info right on the back end. They fully automated an entire scam empire using generative AI.
So the crucial point is, this isn't just another story about a hack. It's about legal precedent. By officially suing these hackers and actively working with the FBI, Google is definitively declaring, "We're fighting back too." They are taking legal action against the abuse of their very own AI tools, establishing a clear message to governments while putting massive pressure on giants like Meta, OpenAI, and Microsoft to do exactly the same.
And speaking of OpenAI, while Google was out playing offense, OpenAI found themselves stuck playing defense over a pretty chaotic timeline. On June 8th, they announced a historic $150 billion IPO. Huge news. But just 5 days later, a coalition of 42 U.S. attorneys general hit them with a sweeping subpoena. By June 14th, OpenAI had to officially commit to engaging with this massive probe into their ad policies, data protection, and how they treat user data.
So what does all this mean for you and your data privacy? Well, our analysis shows 3 key takeaways for this first act. First, AI companies are now staring down future liability for exactly how their tools are used. Second, because the U.S. federal government still lacks a comprehensive AI law, these state AGs are filling the vacuum, potentially creating a really messy 50-state regulatory patchwork. And finally, whatever settlement OpenAI eventually reaches, those terms are absolutely going to become the new de facto standard for the entire AI industry.
Moving right along to our second frontier, the mobile tech revolution. Hardware and software fundamentally shifting.
This is where the hardware in our pockets and the software running it fundamentally shifted, starting at Apple's WWDC 2026. Look at the software contrast here. Before iOS 27, Siri was basically voice-only, isolated, with zero cross-device sync. But with iOS 27, Siri isn't just some hidden feature anymore. It gets a dedicated home screen icon, an interface with a searchable chat history, and seamless iCloud sync across your Mac and Vision Pro. It was totally reborn as a standalone, context-aware AI platform designed to directly compete with ChatGPT.
But you've got to ask yourself, why did Apple wait 15 long years to do this? The truth is, Tim Cook always wanted seamless system integration. He didn't want users feeling like they were just talking to a standalone robot app. But the massive, undeniable popularity of ChatGPT's extended text conversations essentially forced Apple's hand. Users made it clear they wanted that chat experience, and Apple finally delivered.
Over on the hardware side, September 2026 brought a genuine heavyweight title fight. Samsung's Galaxy Z Fold 8 going up against Apple's brand new iPhone Fold. Samsung leaned heavily into its massive 8-year first-mover advantage, offering an incredibly thin 4.2mm design and a beast of a 5,000 mAh battery. Apple, on the other hand, exercised some serious strategic patience. They waited years for liquid metal technology to mature so they could finally reduce that dreaded screen crease, pairing that hardware leap with their unbeatable iOS 27 ecosystem.
And this brilliantly illustrates something absolutely crucial for your next phone purchase.
Historically, when Apple enters a category, it signals to the market that the technology is finally, quote, ready for everyone. The launch of the iPhone Fold could be the exact catalyst needed to finally legitimize the foldable category for the mainstream consumer once and for all.
Which brings us to our third frontier: markets, millions, and nostalgia. Essentially, what holds value in 2026? It really begs the question, what actually holds value today? Let's start with serious digital infrastructure. According to Etherealized CEO Vivek Raman, Wall Street isn't just piloting Ethereum anymore. They are actively using it as production infrastructure for real-world, traditional finance assets right now. We are talking about tokenized stocks, government and corporate bonds, fractional real estate, and well over $150 billion in stablecoins. Because of this massive institutional migration, Vivek Raman made a pretty bold prediction: Ethereum reaching $15,000 by 2027. And his rationale makes a lot of sense. He explains that the highway is now fully built, right? But the actual massive transaction volume of these traditional assets hasn't hit the road just yet. That makes this a massive long-term play, even if the current price doesn't quite reflect the infrastructure reality yet.
Let's move to and see how this builds into a truly shocking cultural contrast. From cutting-edge digital finance to this: $3 million. That is the jaw-dropping, record-shattering auction price paid for a single, physical 1985 Super Mario Bros. Video game cartridge.
Now, why on earth would a video game cost as much as a luxury mansion? Well, wealthy tech and crypto millionaires drove this specific game to absolutely crush the previous $2 million record for a few highly specific reasons. It featured an original glossy sticker indicating a very first production run, it's the earliest known sealed copy to even exist, and it achieved a perfect WADA 9.8 A++ grade. To these buyers, this isn't just a game, it is a legendary cultural artifact.
But we have to step back and ask ourselves, is this a sustainable market or just a massive speculative bubble? Like, are classic video games truly the new fine art? Experts warn that while there is absolutely genuine cultural significance here, any kind of macroeconomic shift could easily pop this high-risk nostalgia bubble. It's a completely fascinating but very, very fragile market.
Finally, Section 4. What happens next? Synthesizing a historic night.
Now, what's really interesting about this is how we can pull together all the chaotic events of June 14, 2026 into one clear big picture. Collectively, these distinct stories prove the tech industry has reached a massive new stage of maturity and accountability. AI creators and regulators are actively establishing new legal boundaries. Hardware and software are facing massive consumer leaps. And finally, both digital finance and physical nostalgia are completely redefining what we consider valuable.
It leaves us with one incredibly provocative thought to wrap up the explainer. As technology weaves deeper into our laws, our pockets, and our very past, are we controlling the revolution, or is it controlling us? It's definitely something to deeply consider the next time you interact with your devices. Thanks for joining me for this explainer, and remember, in the tech world, history is made overnight.